Season 1, Jeff, Barracuda, and the North American Sweethearts bring it home under the banner of Cognitive Pride.
No one thought had a chance at the finals coming into this event. Coming as the number 2 team. I'm face down, ripping through, Titan, down, falls 3, a double kill for himself. It's a 5-1. They're gonna go for the win. The world champions, Cognitive Pride, GG!
Season 2, we say hello to Europe as Adapting and Epsilon Esports slam it home.
A huge play. Adapting's about to go up. He's going to come crashing down. Who's the target? It's going to be all 3, and 2 will get stunned out.
Oh, no.
He's taking tons of damage.
Oh, no.
Chaos forces to move forward.
They don't have enough time for this.
Again.
They don't have enough time for this.
No, it's a deicide. Ladies and gentlemen, Epsilon Esports.
Season 3, new name, same roster. 2-time world champions, Rapper and NRG.
Well, there's 4 members left, and into the sky goes Adapting. The ultimate's weighing down. The Titan is under siege. Energy are looking to be world champions again. Long live the king! And once again, the king is Europe.
Season 4, PolarBearMike brings it back for America. eUnited slams the hammer.
Cracking and knocked back. There's Death Walker controlling things. PandaCat takes that Wolfie. Where's the remainder of the team fight?
Death Walker falls to Venenu, and eUnited keeps on going because PandaCat
That's 2! Still pushing forward. They're at the Titan. Only 2 members to play defense.
They can't do it!
And that's the game. That's the series. That is your Smite World Championship. Say hello to your North American victors, PolarBearMike and eUnited.
Season 5, new map, new players, new teams, same destination. Who raises Thor's hammer? The Smite Pro League.
And welcome to the Smite Pro League, taking a look at North America Week 6. It's Finch, and I've got Taco here with me as well. And we have a whole slate full of amazing North American action to get through today, Taco.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing how Luminosity is going to plan on maybe looking to bounce back. I think that both these teams, United and Luminosity, have had their fair amount of struggles so far in Season 5 SPL play. And I think that they're both really trying to take this set home.
It's going to be an interesting set. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the day. Again, the SPL is presented to you all by Mixer. That is who's making it all possible, and very thankful to them again. Of course, enjoy those POV cams. Those links should be right below the video. And I think Auburn even has a couple of commands set up if you want to get those pulled up a little bit easier. It's so helpful, Taco, to be able to see exactly what those players are up to.
And it's always just one of the best ways for you to possibly try and learn and adapt your own play style into their kind of techniques and everything. Just very informative stuff all around.
Yeah, it really helps a lot to be able to see what they're up to. But let's go ahead and take a bit of a zoomed out picture at exactly how our teams are going to be moving through. We're at the tail end of the split right now, or at least the spring split. It is 6 weeks of competition and double round robin, so everyone is going to be playing each other twice, and we're right on the tail end of this. Is the week 1 rematches.
And keep in mind, you just said it best, that these are the matches that we've been seeing from the week 1, but this is all leading up to what we're trying to figure out for the rest of the year. Clearly, we have 3 splits going on. There's going to be the gauntlet towards the end of all that, leading up into Smite Masters, followed by the Summer Finals, which, of course, every final destination is always looking towards that Smite World Championship.
Yeah, so we have a lot of lands planned here. We're going to be able to bring the teams in, not just our North American EU teams, but even a couple international teams here and there. And the Masters is right around the corner. Really, it feels like it got here so quickly, and that's what makes all these games so important. We're only able to take the top 2 teams into that LAN event. So actually, let's go ahead and take a look at the standings. We're not quite done with week 6 yet. This is the first time we're seeing North America play, but you can get a chance to see where everyone is shaping up. And Space Station Trifecta are up near the top. Even CLG and eUnited pushed out a bit.
And for the most part, a lot of these teams are already aware of where they're going to end up as far as the upcoming LAN is concerned, although there's still some opportunity for upsets, a lot of tight-knit competition, so every single one of these last week sets really counts.
Yeah, if you're outside the top 2 right now, you basically need everyone who is up there to lose all their games for you to try and find your way to squeeze back up in there. So in particular, they're looking for Trifecta to try and drop some games, our CLG and eUnited as well to try and see what to try and find their way into the top of the split. But let's look at the matches that we can expect. We are on Wednesday. That's eUnited and LG playing later today, as well as Splice versus CLG. And you could even see the records from yesterday where Rival surprisingly took down Energy.
And I think that a lot of people, myself included, weren't really certain of how that Rival Energy matchup was going to pan out. But one thing's for sure, I don't think anybody would have really predicted SK falling to Mouse Sports towards the end there. But really well played by the guys from Mouse, and I think that they're pretty happy with their performance in that set. And all these teams are really just looking forward to, I think, the summer split as well. If they're not going to be able to find themselves in those top 2 slots, it's still very important experience for them to have, just to try and make the necessary adjustments to look for some better standings in the future. Yeah,
able to gain some momentum to move into that summer split with is what those teams are trying to do. And one way they can gain some momentum is if they get some support from the fans. Everybody make sure that you're picking up one of your badges. One of the best ways to support not just the organization, but the players themselves, and earn yourself some FP while you're at it.
And keep in mind, all those badges show our players' Twitter handles as well, so make sure to drop them a follow also, just to continue showing some support and love to some of your favorite teams.
Yeah, in particular, follow some of those eUnited guys. They're 100% serious, all of them on Twitter, never trolled a day in their life, so you'll make sure that you're getting plenty of straightforward content from them.
Something like that. You know what, Finch, I got to approve of it. When you're going for the whole sellout option, at least you're really pitching it.
Sure, pitch it hard, I guess, there. But yeah, eUnited, that's going to be the first team that we're looking at. And I mean, what can we say about them? I mean, eUnited, these are world champions right now. They're the ones that are defending, and they're full of talent. I mean, PandaCat, Venenu, Benji, Screammmmm, PolarBearMike. This squad is so talented. Now we just got to see if they can keep that talent moving and make their way to the Masters.
eUnited, the defending world champions. These guys have looked good ever since they were able to clean things up a couple of weeks into the season. Now, fighting out for land, these guys gotta wind up on top if they want to repeat what they did last year.
And you heard Tom alluding to it a little bit there, that they got off to a bit of a slow start, Taco, but ever since then, they really have started to look better. And in particular, I feel like that's been them playing around Scream very well.
But you still have to ask yourself, is it too little too late coming from eUnited? Although this is certainly a team where if their back is against the wall, I fully expect them to shine. They seem to really value pressure and always happen to turn up whenever it's being presented right in front of them. But I would have to agree. I think a lot of what eUnited's success has come forward through has been because of Scream, and I think that's kind of just to be expected as well. He needed to step up this season in particular because jungle and mid has just controlled so much of competitive play that if you're not able to maintain a steady level of competition, you're just going to see yourself steadily climbing down in the ranks. And I know that eUnited are certainly a team that haven't been satisfied with any of their performances. That's been very clear and made clear by some of their players even.
That's one thing they've certainly been very serious about. I agree, is that they are not quite at the level they wanted to be at. And I think part of it is that they had to make some adjustments. This is a team that was very much relying on Benji and the solo and PandaCat last season, and that might not be the case. They need Venenu and Scream to play at a very high level this season. That's just kind of how the meta shifted.
And one of the nicer parts about that, though, is you can always rely on Benji to be an incredibly aggressive player. He's going to be someone that will usually hold his own in the solo lane. I think that that's largely helped out eUnited in Season 5 because they seemed a little bit shaky at first, not really knowing what to do if they couldn't play around their solo. So we saw the necessary adjustments being made by Scream almost immediately. Venenu as well even started making some more of those dual lane rotations, trying to help out PandaCat, getting back into the gist of things. And it's never going to be easy, but it's certainly a journey that I think eUnited is understanding of, and whether or not they're able to win out and actually find themselves at LAN, I still think that this is going to be a very important experience for them in the long run.
We have seen them start to make some of that transition you talked about a little bit, helping PandaCat in particular translate over. Hunters, it seems like, especially carry hunters in particular, are relevant now, so gives a bit more of a chance for PandaCat to come out and look strong. And they're going to need him to. Their opponents in this game, Luminosity, maybe not the biggest expectation at the start of the split. They came out hot. Everyone started to feel real strong about him, and then maybe they tapered off a bit. So now we got to see, can this LG team regroup and continue to look strong?
LG came into the season as hot as halal, but at the end of the day, they did cool down a little bit later. Technically, still in contention for LAN, but it's going to be real hard. Everything has to align up for these guys to make it to LAN. Frankly, I don't think LG should really concern themselves. If they do, hooray. At the end of the day, this team is great, and they should look towards winning the summer split.
And this LG team doesn't have the easiest path to LAN, but always the most important thing to focus on is trying to defeat the opponent in front of you. And today in this set, that's going to be eUnited. Taco, that is not an easy task for this LG squad.
But keep in mind, this is also the very first set that Luminosity ever had to play in this spring split, and they wound up being the 2-0 victors the last time that these two collided, and I don't think that anybody was expecting that. I know I wasn't expecting it, but it was evident from the start of the spring split that Luminosity were a team that were planning on staying in contention for those top 3 slots, and I think they've done a pretty decent job at accomplishing that, although there have been a lot of shaky moments for the team. Granted, you're never going to, or I shouldn't say never, but it's very difficult to take in such a new rookie roster and then expect immediate success. I think that's probably one of the most exciting parts about Luminosity even, is that they've managed to find success despite all of these walls that they had to overcome.
It was not easy for this LG team when they first came out. Not expecting them to do as well as they did. Now trying to see if maybe they can keep that momentum going. A lot of that you got to feel like it's coming from the jungle, though. Scream we talked about for eUnited, then that means it's got to be Weekend that you talk about for this LG roster for them, looking way better than anyone had any right really to sort of expect. And on Achilles, like we're seeing here, one of the few to play Achilles well in the jungle role. Benji has had a lot of success playing that Achilles solo, but Weekend in particular has made it look good in the jungle.
And something really fun, too, about Luminosity and Weekend is that it seems as though teams almost feel the need to respect ban a couple of Weekend's picks, and
right, like
I think
Arachne.
that's such a strong asset to have, because when you're forcing another team to ban gods like Arachne, it opens up so many different avenues, so many different team compositions that can come forward for Luminosity, and I think even now we can probably expect to see something we haven't before from LG.
And it's not just that they play so well through Weekend, but it's that when the call comes out from this LG squad, they very clearly follow it. I love the way that they commit onto the shot call. Like, if the shot call is to kill PBM this fight, then if nothing else happens, they're going to at least dump everything onto PBM, or that's what that team does well.
I think the 2 main players I'm keeping an eye out for is probably going to have to definitely be Keegs. I think that he has been a Rookie of the Year for sure, even though it's already just so early on. And also Clout, formerly known as Venenu. I still feel like that's necessary to remind people of at home, because not everyone is aware of that name change quite yet, but he's also really made leaps and bounds as far as his competitive play. I think that he was kind of silent for a bit. He might not have been as into it as he was before, but really looking forward to this.
Well, let's go ahead and get into Game 1 between eUnited and LG. Picks and bans are be coming up on the screen here for you momentarily. A Week 1 rematch, and if you need a refresher, as Taco mentioned, it was LG who came away with the victory when these two teams faced off the first time, kind of shocking the world, really. eUnited, I'm sure, want that revenge match, and LG want to show that that was not a fluke.
Well, first things first, it's going to be eUnited banning away this Athena. I think it's the smart choice, considering that Geno has looked really strong whenever he's able to get the Athena, and plus she's just seemed like such an important Guardian in Season 5.
I really think having that strong control in fights has become more and more important. Some of the junglers that provide a lot of control are getting picked too, so take the Athena with the global presence off the map, make your life a little bit easier. LG then forced to ban away the Terra, and that means that eUnited can select that Achilles first off the board. A real strong flex pick. Plus, it kind of hurts Weekend a bit, who's looked great on it.
And I think that's one thing that we can probably expect to see from these two teams, is that they're probably just going to be trying to pull from each other's god pools, because they do actually share a lot of similarities in some of the gods that they like to lean towards. Hachiman, smart selection, I think, for Clout, should be able to hold his own in the lane, and more importantly, he'll be able to box against PandaCat. And these are two pretty aggressive hunters, so sparks are sure to fly in that duo lane.
Hachiman, one of the strongest hunters in the meta right now, and you're right. Not only has Clout looked good, but he's looked good on this Hachiman when he's played it, so this is a great pick to prioritize for LG. It does mean, though, that Artemis is going to be the response selection for eUnited, and they're going to get to pair that with a Fafnir. So almost certainly we won't be seeing Achilles in a support role now, which means probably it'll either be solo or jungle.
Tons of damage, though. That is one thing that I'm noticing for sure from eUnited. That is a burst plan to kill composition if I've ever seen one, and it's only the first 3 picks. They've still got a long way to go. I would like to see a little bit more hard CC for eUnited to rely on, other than just trying to use Tusky or even the Fafnir Hammerstun as their setup. So maybe even a utility mage here for Venenu. Could possibly expect to see some Nuwa.
Nuwa could certainly be a strong pick, and it is in the meta right now, so we could certainly end up seeing it. Fafnir, do want to point out that AoE Chorus is just strong to take away from the LG roster, too, between the Hachiman and the Soul. You do not want to let them end up getting that Draconic Corruption Fafnir, so good to take that away, serving almost like another ban for their composition, as the Robin and the Daji are banned away by LG. They do not want to deal with those 2 junglers. And I know I'm saying that. Robin right now, that's like a jungle thing you're banning.
I think that's a smart choice, though, to take away the Robin and Daji, because Achilles, when I see it in eUnited, I'm probably guaranteeing that this is going to be for the solo lane for Benji, even though they're willing to show that as their first pick selection. Benji's such a confident player. I don't think he cares letting other teams know that he's going to be piloting a god like Achilles.
Nemesis is going to be the selection here for LG, and Nemesis maybe dropped down a little bit in value, but certainly still very, very popular and very strong. That ultimate good both against the squishies and against the tankier targets, but Skadi is going to come out, and we already have the Artemis on the board.
I think Venenu is trying to do his best T-Money impression with the Skadi mid, possibly. I would hope that it was a Skadi mid. I say that because Skadi also has much better lane clear as far as the level 1 is concerned in comparison to Artemis. And in mid lane as well, you're going to have to rely a little bit on still having a god that can have a decent amount of survivability. And even though Skadi doesn't have a hard escape, that permafrost still serving much better as far as running away from someone, as opposed to the Artemis just trying to rely on her second ability with the movement speed.
It is some movement, not a lot, so not a particularly mobile carries for the eUnited squad, but it is going to be the Sobek last pick. So does that mean it is going to be the Achilles jungle and Benji going to be playing the Sobek pick instead? Sobek has become very popular now, so I'm not too surprised to see it, as Vamana is the last selection for LG.
I wouldn't have expected an Achilles in the jungle for eUnited. I'll just say that right now. I was so sure that this would be for Benji because of how aggressive he likes to play it, but both of these compositions, I can definitely see where the other side can get the benefit from it, but I would probably have to favor eUnited just a little bit more here as far as control is concerned.
All right, sounds like we are favoring eUnited just a little bit here, at least on the desk. Let's go ahead and get it over to Tom and Ryan to take us into the action.
So where's Team Money?
At home, I don't know. Not playing mid for eUnited, even though it might look like it with that Skadi probably going mid.
Yeah, it's a really interesting scenario. When I'm looking at these 2 hunters, I think that Skadi fits that middle lane a little bit better. Traditionally, the ability-based warrior, the ability-based hunters kind of like pretend to be mages better.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen a little bit more of Skadi so far. I mean, the itemization for ability-based hunters has gotten so good now. Crusher is exactly what ability-based hunters want. Attack speed, power, pen, and works well with their abilities. I don't know. I'm kind of surprised the first time we've seen her so far.
Well, certainly an interesting look for eUnited, who have said that they're going to be working on some newer things here. eUnited and LG going head-to-head, I think surprisingly a more evenly matched matchup than most people would have thought. So give us your input, Mixer Chat. Let us know who you think comes out on top here. Like I said, if you asked me this question in week number 1 before we see any play, I go, obviously it's PolarBearMike and eUnited, but here in week number 6, it's not that simple.
Yeah, I mean, Luminosity won that week 1 matchup between these 2 teams, and now it's all on the line for eUnited. They cannot afford to drop another set at all if they would have any chance of making it to land, and still Trifecta has got to be the favorite to make it there. CLG still on the table as well, so it's a 3-way race for one more spot, and it's going to be really close, I think.
Well, let's start that race. Game number 1, eUnited versus LG, right here on top of everything, and it will be Venenu on that Skadi mid. And
interesting.
I think it's very important to mention that he used to be a hunter player.
But so did keegsmate, and he's playing a hunter in the mid lane as well for Luminosity. The Hachiman going mid instead of the Soul. Pretty interesting there. I mean, Keegs was a really big fan of this god during his time on console. He played it a lot on the run-up to Worlds last year in that Myth Gaming team. So you know that he likes this god, but still a little bit surprised that we see him take it into the mid lane this time around. It just does so well in that hunter role, and Soul does pretty well for herself in the mid, but I suppose you can kind of interchange them and make it work.
I think the biggest key here is that Clout's not playing it. It's still on his team, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Clout has a really good Soul in general, so, I mean the character. So because of that, when it comes down to it, I think that's really why we see the swap.
It could be. A lot of hunter players still have that comfort level with Soul from before is Geno's actually going to come in and proxy this mid wave a little bit just to weaken it for Keys and Clout, but head over to that left-hand side.
Weakens on the other team.
No, he's on the same team as Geno. I just said that.
Right, but it weakens on the other side of the map. He's
Yeah, then why'd you
Nemesis.
say on the other team, Tom? If you're going to do my bit, get it right. Damn it.
Listen, it's about context, okay?
No, it's about getting it right all the time. I really like that idea from Geno. He's not gonna miss too much on the left-hand side. He's still gonna absorb the majority of the wave and be able to get over to that side and not give up too much. But it speeds up Keys and Clout's clear significantly. Turn of Fate is an ability that hits pretty hard for a Guardian wave clear ability, so it actually makes a pretty big difference. I like that idea from LG.
Surprisingly enough, what I'm most interested in here is Scream on the Achilles. Achilles has been a polarizing god, both in play and in conversation. Some people think he's busted to all high heavens, and other people think he's just sort of okay. And gameplay has kind of reflected that as well. Purple buff Invade coming out from eUnited, and it's going to be help from Weekend on the bottom. LG's jungler joining the conversation changes everything. PandaCat's going to go ahead and use that Aegis. Also ran away next to her Guardian, who used his as well. And here's the blink forward from Weekend. Moonwalk to protect things, and Scream finds the first blood.
There's that Achilles jungle, though. It's a double kill for Scream on it. And you're right, it hasn't been an easy beginning for Achilles in the SPL, especially his first week and a half or so. But over the last week, it's really turned up in solo for Benji, and I think that's where you're going, is that it's kind of surprising that Scream is actually the one to pilot it instead of Benji, with how much success Benji has had on this pick. But this just goes to show that eUnited, you can't really predict exactly where everything is going to go. They get the two gods that I think are doing the best in solo right now, Sobek and Achilles. And they move the Achilles into the jungle, put Sobek in there for Benji, and now Kiki's forced into going something like the Vamana, which we have seen very little of so far. So I loved this draft from eUnited.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Achilles, it's funny. I actually said Weekend blinked in because Weekend has been the only jungler that I've seen on the Achilles that actually makes an impact. Scream here, turning around that storyline real quick and very quickly finding that double kill. But yeah, I think this is much less about Scream wanting to pilot the Achilles and much more the story of Sobek. The Sobek has been... This is... hilariously speaking, because he doesn't beat people up in the beginning game. He doesn't find himself 4-0. But Sobek might be the best solo lane choice right now.
He's just so dominant in the late game. He just does everything you could ever want your solo laner to do. Damage, initiation, peel. He does it all. And it's so hard to handle a Sobek that gets the amount of farm that solo laners are getting these days that it's just impossible to deal with. He doesn't have any bad lane matchups. Bad enough, I should say, that he's going to fall significantly behind every single time. We have seen teams put dedicated pressure solos on that side of the map and try and force them out early on, and it's worked at times, and it's also completely backfired, and then they just get out team fought in the later stages.
I mean, the problem is that sure, even if you do get to put him down, like you said, he still makes the impact late game because he has the Guardian kit, but also the fact that he's got kind of a lot of innate sustain. I mean, he gets all his mana back, basically, thanks to the ultimate, and he's also going to heal off a Sickening Strike on the regular. And P.S., if the opponent across the way has healing, he's also cutting that down as well. So, I mean, the Sobek just brings so much to this lane.
He just has everything you could ever want in the solo lane, and that's what makes him so potent. On the left-hand side, blinking again from Scream. Clout, still no beads from before. Very low, but able to get into that Disapparate form just in time. Scream still has that ultimate, though, and could look to come around the back. Once he sees Weekend in mid, that might be the call.
Yeah, he's got to be careful right now, just making sure nobody's making the rotation. And the ping out, that ping should have been enough to say that Weekend's there, but it looks like the change of call is to go and pay attention to the middle lane. Scream going to be wrapping around behind keegsmate, dash forward, but Keegs able to dash back.
Check out the relic selection here for Venenu at level 1. No beads, no Aegis, but sprint. And I love it because Luminosity has very little hard CC in their composition. And what does literally everyone on Luminosity have in their kit? A slow, and a strong one at that. I'm looking at Mounted Archery has a very strong slow for keegsmate. Obviously, Nem is all slows. Clout's got the Stellar Burst. Geno with the Dharmic Pillars brings a slow. Kiki has the Umbrella Rang. These slows is what's going to set up all the damage for Luminosity. So Venenu keeping himself and the rest of his team safe with this pickup. Thinking Aegis is probably going to be necessary come the late game because of that mounted archery and Supernova, but until then, I think you're perfectly safe for going for Sprint here. I love the heads-up call and not just auto-buy Beads or Aegis.
Absolutely agree with that one. Sprint is going to get rid of all of the things that Beads would do, plus give you more.
Exactly.
This is just the great choice. You always have to think critically because, like you said, a lot of players, just have a default start, and that's why that's why we always say, you have to change everything game to game. We can hear with a great path right towards eUnited's dual lane, but they're walking backwards. We can kind of miss his opportunity there.
Oh, it doesn't check purple either. Purple was up, and that has to be an invade opportunity there from Weekend. He made that initial pathing, then turned back around, and then turned back around to head back towards Duo and wasted himself about 15 seconds or so. If he just goes to check purple, he either gets a kill opportunity or the buff. You're not wasting your time in that situation. That's a little bit of missed farm, and Scream's a level up now, in part because of the double kill, certainly, but also Weekend could have recouped a little bit of that loss if he had checked the buff.
And wasn't even any vision from eUnited there either.
No.
So just, Luminosity jungler with a strange hesitation. Scream dashes forward, sends keegsmate in the opposite direction. A little bit of damage onto Weekend as well. So there's Achilles here. When he first came out, I fancied him better as a jungler than a solo laner. Just he's very aggressive. And, well, the aggressive solo laners have made great use of him, mainly players like Benji. So I think he really does flex well in that position. But like I said, I'm excited to see him in jungle. I think this is a really strong option for Scream.
I agree with you. I was very heavily on the solo Achilles isn't as good as jungle Achilles sort of train. I've changed my tune a little bit that he can be playable in either role and make a great impact. And that's what really that's what makes him so potent at the pro level is that flexibility.
What's interesting is that I think Achilles, Kiki wiggles out of the way of Benji right there, really shows that the game right now is about individual play style and not that if you play solo lane, you have to play like this. We've seen solo Cronoses from, lower end teams like Mouse and higher end teams like Deathwalker, right? So what it comes down to is just play style, and Achilles is an aggressive damage dealing character. You can use that in the solo or the jungle.
Oh, Ven in some trouble, but that sprint's gonna help him out here. Weekend on the chase. Venenu very low. Keegs needs to hit that eagle eye shot, but Venenu juking beautifully. Gino gonna be able to cut him off, but Keegs finally finds him.
There's the execute coming out from Scream, who gets executed right after the fact by Clout.
Nice stun.
There's the jump over from PolarBearMike and a couple of basics from PandaCat. If he can find them.
Hit the one that mattered.
Jesus, Max, come on. PandaCat finally gets number 4 for eUnited. And yeah, the sprint came out. Unfortunately, the banner came up in time, so it was, much ado about nothing. But watching Venenu there take the pathing through the rocks, do like that S pattern, was really important to avoid the eagle eye stuff and even the ultimate if Keeks used it.
Very smart by Venenu, but that's where the sprint helps, but maybe Aegis could have been a little bit better because Venenu sprints, but then still eats so much damage from that mounted archery from keegsmate. That's guaranteed in that little tiny corridor, and that's why that's such a great spot to fight from Luminosity, because you've got great AoE abilities in that spot. You've got the Dharmic Pillars, you have mounted archery and Heavenly Banner, and Stellar Burst is going to cover up most of the escape options. So I like that opportunity there from Luminosity. But eUnited had a very good turnaround in that stun on the back end by PBM to make sure that Clout dies and that PandaCat gets that kill, gets the buff, gets a wave, that Clout doesn't get any of it. That's a big lead for a late game hunter to have at this point in the game. It's only 400 gold, but you don't want to let an Artemis get a lead like this on you, even this early on.
Especially PandaCat's Artemis. This is his notable god, right? This is really what he was known for, and I'm going to tell you to lean on your original gut feeling. I think the sprint is better early game because you're going to deal with less of the damage. Right there, everybody combined with everything, so sure. But I think there's a better chance of you getting away from a lot of that stuff early with the sprint than later.
Well, the problem is that Venenu and PBM use the sprint within 1 second of each other.
Yeah,
so you overlap the sprints there. There's got to be better communication that whoever's going to be using sprint first in that engagement to get out of there. And in that situation, because PBM was right next to Venenu, Aegis is obviously better because you don't necessarily need two sprints. But in the 2v1 sort of scenarios, sprint will probably help out Venenu a little bit more. Just need some better communication between he and PolarBearMike to make sure that those are being used at the correct time, especially with PBMs being upgraded. That haste effect is going to be really critical for PandaCat and Venenu to have, so you want to hold on to that for when that haste is going to be relevant, and not necessarily just for the slow immunity and the speed up that Venenu can still provide.
Weekend getting collapsed on here. Screammmmm finds a stun, and everybody else finds the damage. Venenu very easily gets the kill with the doggo there. Nice play coming out from Skadi, Screammmmm, and of course Fafnir, PolarBearMike, making his impact. 5 kills, and he has 5 assists. No surprise there. See the success out of the young support.
Keegs now on the run. Screammmmm still has his ultimate. There's a sprint from Venenu, and Keegs will immediately hop on the horse in response. So not a bad trade overall, but I still think that Keegs is probably sitting okay with that.
Yeah. Diamond pillars come down. Looks like eUnited going to get punished here. Venenu goes down. Kiki with a nice rotation from the short side. But just a really hot play from Geno. And this has been really fun to watch Luminosity come into the game, because very, very early on, we saw Geno pretty much exclusively play the Athena.
Yeah.
PolarBearMike and PandaCat look like they want to get involved in an invade.
Sprint used by Geno this time, but no ultimate for him or keegsmate, so no real chase down potential there.
So Geno played the Athena almost exclusively, and before this, he had shown up maybe as a sub here once or twice there in the Pro League, and he had an Athena. And that's what he's known for. It's just like, all right, you play the Athena, good job, Rook. But he slowly became more interactive, I want to say. He was the new guy on the team, so they were like, play your Athena, taunt, and don't do anything.
Sure.
And now Luminosity, over the 6 weeks of the spring split, has trusted him more and more. And now on this Ganesh, he's aggressively making plays instead of just responding to what the team tells him to do. We've kind of watched this kid grow in 6 weeks.
Geno has really impressed me with his level of play and how much he has grown during his time in the SPL. Came in towards the back end of last year, where that was Team Cryptic that he was a part of, and now, you know, it still needed to prove his stripes, I think, but he and Clout together, man, what a duo lane this has been from Luminosity.
Yeah.
Kiki has held his own in the solo lane and had some pretty solid performances as well, with some weird stuff. You know, the Nemesis solo and that kind of stuff has worked out well for Luminosity, but you got to give credit where it's due to the duo.
Quick over the wall. PandaCat goes ahead and lets his doggo get the kill. Little Tusky boar. Left side tier 1 tower goes down as well. Half a dozen for eUnited.
That's just pure aggression by eUnited there. Screammmmm blinks up and over the wall, and it only takes 1 ultimate, and it's only PandaCat's, and that's a pretty big one, but certainly worth grabbing that kill. It's a rookie mistake I see a lot of teams make is once Soul starts to separate, they kind of wait it out. Not eUnited. They went right in.
Diamond pillars dropped defensively by Geno. Here comes the response from the mid lane. keegsmate taking down Screammmmm. PolarBearMike surrounded while Weekend and PandaCat duel out on the bottom. But PandaCat does have help from the Skadi player. So Venenu shows up, chases Weekend out of here, and PandaCat will survive one more time.
Ooh, PBM also very low, but there's a great opportunity from Luminosity to pull the Gold Fury, but Benji's on the way here. Kiki's already here, though. He teleported in.
Great call from Luminosity. Even if they don't wind up with it, just seeing how quickly that happened. Again, this is a team that I've been looking at with a critical lens for growth, and I've really seen a lot of it. Kiki gets flipped, and he'll just run away. Luminosity should walk away from the Gold Fury, and looks like that's what they're going to do.
Benji gets to hold on to his teleport, though. He started walking over from Soul Lane right after eUnited finished that tier 1, basically, in order to get here in time. Bigger map means you got to commit to those rotations a lot earlier on, and Benji's presence is the reason that Luminosity can't pull that Gold Fury. And now, PandaCat and PBM return, and it's their turn to pull it.
How does Kiki know about this? There's
these bottom wards right here, right underneath the pillar right there. Both PBM and PandaCat walked right over those. So
I thought those were all eUnited wards, and I saw Kiki make that rotation crossing through mid, and I went, all right.
He's just a genius. There's also a ward inside the Gold Fury pit for Luminosity, which is a little bit hidden outside the eye of the Sentry ward.
Yeah, it's right underneath that one. So all eyes on the Gold Fury. There it is. Bing.
Hi.
So eUnited not going to be able to snatch that one. Love the thought process from both of those teams there regarding the objective, though. I think it was very, very intelligent. eUnited going to try one more time. Really less concerned about the objective and trying to catch somebody slipping as they enter this area.
Keegs has beads, ult, and Aegis, so he's pretty safe right here. Geno still hasn't hit level 12, but neither has PBM, so only 1 relic for each of those. As Oracles both go the way of Luminosity, and that's a bit of a help because Scream has been on this left side quite a bit. Now, he still has pathing options if he goes high above the red buff. There's no vision there from Luminosity, but once this ward gets cleared out, so now you can see the clear path for Scream going up around the red buff and now up on the backside. Perfect positioning to try and get around where his wards are and where he thinks the Luminosity wards could be.
Easy purple invade. Scream shows up. PandaCat drops the arrows, and easy peasy. Geno sitting here wanting to see if anybody's going to go and look for that buff to pick up, and thus he'd be able to jump on them. Yes, there's a ward under the Gold Fury, so Luminosity are very aware that eUnited are here and playing with the objective, but it's already 10%. In comes Luminosity, but they're a little bit too late. eUnited take care of Gold Fury, and they're already out of here. Sprint popped. We'll see you later.
Venenu uses it just to be sure. He did pick up the Aegis level 12, which definitely think is the right call. But eUnited, I love that, just completely non-committal in that situation. They took no damage because of the way that Panda and Ven were passing the Gold Fury back and forth.
Yep.
That if they had to drop it, they could drop it. And it wasn't going to be a big deal, but the burst was communicated nicely there between Venenu and PandaCat. They both used their secure abilities at the exact same time. That Gold Fury went from 8% down to 0% before Weekend could get in there.
Pyromancer started up by Luminosity, and PandaCat does have the ultimate. Tusky's so good in situations like this right now. There's the blink forward from the jungler. PolarBearMike can use the transformation. Scream on the backside, Benji on the front side. Double kill for eUnited. keegsmate goes down to the hand of the Croc. And now Kiki giving chase will get stunned. Kiki gets one. Has the potential for multiple, but he finds himself out of that ultimate, surrounded, rooted, and killed by his direct opposition. Scream chasing Geno into the solo lane.
Oof. Just a little bit off the mark there from Scream, but still a great play from him on top of Clout, who hadn't been able to buy his Aegis, I don't think, quite yet. And just the full combo from Achilles 100 to 0'd him, and that's because of the lead that Scream has. The itemization that he's gone for is very offensive oriented. But also, Achilles, just his auto attacks, I think, are the real sneaky part of this kit. Doesn't have an auto chain, so everyone is just hitting for 100%. A little bit slower because of that, but they hit really, really hard on the enemy gods, especially at this point in the game where he's still ahead enough where he can auto attack you and he feels like he's going to be able to out-trade you, but you add in that Radiant Glory to give himself some extra sustain once he uses his abilities on you, and a little bit of extra defense that it provides him. It's just so hard to handle.
And look at the build he's gotten, too. I really love this build. Understanding what Achilles brings with respect to how he scales well, and even taking into account what you were talking about with the basic attacks. Picking up the Hydra's Lament, something we don't see that often, but I think works out really well with characters that have options like his Radiant Glory.
Yeah, I agree with you. You just have an option to auto-cancel on every single one of his regular abilities, which is kind of what you're looking for when you think about Hydra's Lament as an option. And I think this item is a little bit underutilized. It can be difficult to weave in auto attacks in the middle of a team fight, but I think it's great for this stage of the game, and then it's usually correct to sell it in the later game because you're not going to be able to weave in those auto attacks in every single team fight. So this is a great, not exactly bridge item, but a big power spike mid-game item where if you thought Scream was going to be able to 100-0 Keegs, Weekend, or Clout before, now it might not even need that second combat dodge. If he blinks in, hits the one, auto attack, combat dodge, auto attack, dead. Like you're just dead. You don't need anything else after that.
Very true. Very true. Kiki over here did fall down before, but he does have 2 kills himself. Like the Vamana pick as well. This character is, I feel like we haven't seen much Vamana in years. And then earlier on this season, we saw him in the jungle in the hands of Homie Effie. Kiki has played the Vamana before in the solo lane this split.
Clout is in trouble on that left-hand side. Blinked on again by Scream. Had the Aegis this time and the beats. Scream realizes it's 2v1, so he's going to try and get out of there. But he doesn't have a whole lot of skills left in the tank.
No, he's going to be chased down. Nemesis has the slows, and of course, has the double dash to catch up to him. But looks like Scream's going to be safe and sound. 2-level lead on Weekend.
That's a big deal. 2-level lead on Weekend and on Clout. So that's why he's kind of able to get out of there, use that Fatal Strike as an escape option instead of the aggressive one.
20 minutes in here, folks. And we've got about 14 kills to talk about. 9 of them belong to eUnited, the other 5 on the side of Luminosity. And it's been all eUnited today. 5,000 experience, 4,700 gold in the lead. Also a couple of structures to talk about. And the only gold fear of the game went to the red, white, and blue.
Wonder how much of that gold lead is on to Scream, though, because remember, he started off the game, he got first blood, he got the double kill right off the bat. Yeah, he's got about a 2,000 gold lead basically right now, 1,500 or so on weekends, so that's a significant portion of eUnited's lead is only on to Scream. So now you've got to be worried about that if you're eUnited. You got to say, okay, Scream is going to, we have to let him play aggressive, but if he goes over aggressive, then it's going to be difficult it's going to be easy rather for Luminosity to get back in this fairly quickly. He's got a big gold bounty on his head, and if we can just catch up a little bit, the gold per minute is insanely in Scream's favor. If that continues, then it's not gonna be easy for Luminosity. But if they can find that kill on a Scream, it'll be a big boon for them.
Well, Artemis just gonna casually solo the Gold Fury very easily.
Yeah.
Big damage coming out from that guy right there, but. For me, looking at a character like Achilles, this is the god that I want to have that absorbent lead over my own team, because we talk about how he falls off in the late game, but when you take characters like Old Thanatos, Chalk, Achilles, Odin, these guys that we'd say fall off in the late game damage-wise, if they're allowed to get ahead of everybody, well, they reach that late game before everybody. So they don't fall off. They are just a step ahead of you.
Exactly, and that's why it's not a problem necessarily for eUnited, just something to keep in mind.
Something to be wary of.
That elite is on mostly one character. And eUnited sneaking away a Gold Fury at that point, it's just, I don't know if the back timings were off from Luminosity, but there's no reason at this level of play, even with a lead like that the Gold Fury goes unchecked with no one even close to it for that amount of time.
Yeah.
PandaCat didn't have any additional help, but he does good damage on objectives at this point, don't get me wrong, but that wasn't a burn down Gold Fury. That was no one from Luminosity could have gotten there if they wanted to from the time that PandaCat thought about starting it to finishing it, and that's just a problem from LG. They've got to have a little bit better ward coverage or the ability to have at least someone go in and poke their head in and check it out. That was just too much time where the entire map was open for eUnited.
You guys always make fun of me for my bank robbery analogy,
Oh,
right?
here we go.
No. You throw the brick through the window.
Yeah, I know the one.
You wait for the police to come, right?
Right, yes.
This time they threw the brick through the window and nobody came.
Why wasn't it they had some Girl Scout cookies to sell? They knocked on the door and no one was home.
Because then they don't get the money. Then
They go to the house next door and they say, oh, I love Girl Scout cookies. I'd love to buy 5 boxes worth. And you're like, thank you. And now your Girl Scout troop's in a great spot for this next year.
Pyromancer. eUnited.
Why can't it be a little bit more family friendly like that, Tom?
I mean, because that doesn't work.
Sure it does.
You know what? I'd like 2 boxes of tag-alongs, please.
I would love to provide those for you, and maybe it's just a sore subject. I know you've told me some stories in confidence about your troubles selling Girl Scout cookies for your Girl Scout troop, so I'm sorry to bring those up live on air.
First of all, I'm the best cookie salesman.
In the whole Girl Scout troop?
Yes.
Is it because you were the only salesman?
No, it's because I looked excellent in my brownie uniform.
I can see that.
Yeah?
Yeah. Sure, it was very flattering.
It was, actually. It really was. United here. Biding their time for the mid-game.
Check out the Gem of Isolation for PolarBearMike. Not something you see that often these days on Fafnir, specifically in a game like this where it's still pretty early on overall. But this is a 250 health and 10% CCR is no joke for frontliners. Now, you still want a little bit of protection or more health if those are the only things it's providing to you. But remember, whenever PBM puts that Coerce buff onto one of his teammates, they will get the benefit of the Gem of Isolation. That's how Fafnir Coerce works. It technically is his ability damage coming out through you. So that's going to slow down the opposition. And I love this tech choice. That not a lot of sprints, only one on the side of Luminosity. Not a lot of slow immunity, only Clout has it in his kit. So I think this is a really smart pickup.
Also in the relic department there, PolarBearMike getting the kill Vamana item.
Yes, the upgraded Cursed Ankh is the LOL you picked Vamana.
Yeah.
But
really unfortunate here. Kiki gonna run away, and when he does go in that ultimate, since he can't even stop his healing, he will just take 20% more damage from eUnited.
And he'll be anti-healed at the same time.
Yeah, that too. Also that. Here it comes, a little bit of a stun onto the big baby, and he's dead before he's even big. Venenu gets the last hit right there. eUnited on the right-hand side. They've got about a 6,000 gold lead, and they're not done just yet. Benji plucks the keegsmate to nobody in particular. eUnited on the bottom side looking for the fire giant.
PandaCat was a little bit isolated in that team fight, but PBM immediately turned to help him out at the right time. Plus, his relics bought him enough time to allow the rest of eUnited to come in and start to peel for him, while Scream and Venenu handled Kiki on the right-hand side. Luminosity get a little bit split up. It's basically just Kiki who gets split up, and it almost ends up working out for them because of the way that eUnited collapses, leaves PandaCat alone, but he's able to buy enough time with his relic usage and ultimate that it doesn't end up mattering too much. Something to be wary of, especially when you're playing a god like Artemis, that you cannot afford to let yourself get split off that often. In that situation, it ends up as a perfect bait, but won't always end up that way.
Tier 2 tower in the mid lane here, the focus for eUnited. They've got the fire giant around their waists. Benji thinking about backing to base, won't this time around. Scratch that, he will. Does have the teleport, so he'll be able to join the team pretty much no problem, as long as somebody drops a ward. Not too big of a deal here. eUnited just pushing their lead, 11,000 now at 26 minutes.
This has felt really dominant since the very beginning. I mean, the first 10 minutes or so, there wasn't any big lead, but it always felt like it was eUnited in the driver's seat. They were the ones dictating the pace of this game, and they were just kind of waiting until their double hunters got to the point where they were going to be unstoppable in this game, and Scream is really the one who got him there. It felt like he was doing so much in the early game on this Achilles.
I think with the observer pointing out 474 damage.
Yeah, his
per
auto
basic.
attacks are stupid strong. They hit so hard. It's crazy.
Yeah.
625, 532 before he pops the red pot. Now up to nearly 650 on the in-hand damage. Insane.
That's silly.
That's because of that. That's because of that Achilles passive, that gift of the gods that allows him to go around walking all shirtless, looking like a hunk. But he also just does a butt ton of damage and has a ton of movement speed in this form. This is what allows Achilles to be so strong at any point. He just hi-rezed that mid camp for 770. Now, obviously, it doesn't have the same protection as a god, but I don't think Clout's gonna like that very much either.
Can we take a look at Radiant Glory, the second ability here? Juked him out right there. So you get a heal and you get physical power, which is really, really, really nice. That's going to help him boost a lot of that damage as well. And like you said, it's just a hi-rez enabler.
15%. So you're getting an extra 15% on your power. So by building this much, it's helping him boost up that Radiant Glory as well.
That's why
613.
Oh my goodness. That's why I love this build coming out from Scream, but
all right. Forever, you know, there's got to be some sort of downside, and the downside there is that you get to auto attack someone for 613 with a hi-rez proc, but you also explode when looked at too heavily, especially with a Nemesis ult in tow.
One thing I want to really bring up about that engagement was that was, you could label that from the outside looking in as just Scream going to ham. But I think a lot of the time what happens is that if the assassin makes his way to the back line at the same time that eUnited pushes forward, they create this chaos where the back line is being harassed by a jungler and the front line can't respond because they're getting pushed on. That play looks really clean if eUnited push forward. So more of a communication breakdown than just outright nuts.
eUnited wanted to push forward, and they started to get on the Phoenix, which is what Scream's trying to do there, is buy space for the Phoenix to go down for eUnited. But Kiki gets in front of both hunters and distracts both of them and PolarBearMike. Not exactly sure where Benji was in the midst of that team fight because we were on that third-person point of view, but it still is enough to just keep both hunters busy and the support. Kiki's doing all that by himself, so now you've got an advantage for Luminosity where you've got 3 sets of eyes on one character, so you've got your eyes could go to the one who's harassing your back line instead of trying to worry about what their real damage dealers are doing.
And that's the type of thing when we look at Luminosity, and this has been an interesting conversation both in Mixer chat and elsewhere when I talk to the fans about Kiki. Kiki's the type of player that professional players and analysts really respect and really, really, really hold in high regard. And no disrespect to the casual fans at home, a lot of times they don't grasp why Kiki is held in such high regard.
Yeah, Kiki's not going to be your Benji or your Deathwalker. That's just not his playstyle.
Not at all.
But he will fill whatever role your team needs, and not just in solo lane, but if you need him to play mid, he can do it. Support, he can do it. He's done those at a pro level before.
Yeah.
This dude is just very, very versatile and will never have those games where he's just going to outright lose it for you. And if he does, it's very rare. Every player will have those, but Kiki is very consistent in that solo lane. He's not going to win you the game by himself most of the time, but he'll do enough to make you say, yes, he made an impact and he's worth having on the squad.
Yeah, I mean, Kiki saves that left side Phoenix just by being there. Scream gets ulted by the Nemesis, slowed down as well, looking for the turnaround play. Gets the stun, his team gets the Fire Giant across the way. And so Weaken forced to leave with his tail between his legs. eUnited with an absorbent lead right now. They're going to walk forward and look for the left side Phoenix one more time. Hopefully for them and their fans, Kiki won't be as much of an obstacle.
That's a good demonstration of just how potent Nemesis ult is in the late game, because Scream has got all this damage, not really worried about his own protection pool, those being stripped away, but still, as soon as Weaken hits him with that Nemesis ult, despite Weaken having 2.5 offensive items, Scream's still on the defensive right away.
Yeah. Gotta be. Stripping your protections, brings him down basically naked. Really scary stuff there. From
He's already basically naked. He's not wearing the armor.
No, with the shirt off. Yeah. He's halfway there. Nemesis ult basically, you know, brings him all the way home.
Nemesis ult is just, what if there was a Nem ult that just like pants to you?
That'd be so good.
School bully Nemesis.
Oh, and then I don't know, man. Left side, the Phoenix being aggressed on here. Geno gets stunned out real quick, and it's going to be Kiki one more time, leading the charge right up into that big baby. And I love the offensive use of this because he knows he's not going to be able to use that defensively. There it is. eUnited pushed off the left side Phoenix one more time, still alive.
But Fire Giant's going to regen them up here, and they could just try and resiege.
Scream, on the other hand, has to heal up just a little bit. eUnited 4 players, well, 3 players strong. There's the 4th, there's the 5th. PandaCat joining and Scream at 75%. This time around, 75% of the Phoenix is already gone. Luminosity lining up here. Kiki in the sideline. NotGeno right here front and center. The 3 back lines sitting there waiting.
Panda needs to be super careful here. No beads, no Aegis, no ult for him either. So he's a sitting duck for whatever Luminosity to throw at him. Both sprints were also used again at the exact same time from eUnited in that last engagement. So they're both coming up at the exact same time. No beads for Scream either. This is kind of a sketchy idea to stick around with this many defensive relics down for eUnited.
And waiting this amount of time as well as just letting Luminosity tick their ultimate timers back up. Clout, Geno has his. Geno's perhaps the most important one right now. Kiki's is going to be coming up in a matter of moments. There's the box, and there's the drop. PolarBearMike gets killed by keegsmate. Luminosity seeping out of the left side lane. Phoenix does go down, but how many members will eUnited lose? Luminosity are on the chase. No sprints available for either team. Kiki on the run. Turn around from Scream, not good enough. There's the slow on a PandaCat.
Nice.
The Hail of Arrows ain't good enough, and Weaken cuts him down. Number 8 for Luminosity. They're still on the chase. There's the horse ride. He's going to slow down Scream, but Scream with the double dash gets out of trouble. LG respond finally to eUnited, and what a wonderful response it was.
But I wonder if how much they're going to be able to get off of this. I mean, a tier 2 tower, that's gone. Left side, there's no way that's going to stand. But I don't think LG can really go for a Phoenix here. They've lost that left side Phoenix.
Yep.
eUnited lose 2 members for it, but tier 2 and a Gold Fury, eUnited probably not too upset about that. Great CC chain from Geno onto PBM. He was never able to make an impact in that fight, even in that Draconic Corruption. Dropped the Coerce and immediately just got killed right after.
This is what we call a win-win. Both teams are pretty happy about this. Like you said, well, eUnited's not happy, but they're not too upset. eUnited get their Phoenix, and they're like, oh, well, okay. But Luminosity cut the Fire Giant push by about a minute. They kill a couple of players. They get the Gold Fury, which basically should fill up their 6 slots at Weaken outstanding. Well, just now selling it, and you know what? Yeah, Weaken's going to fill his 6th slot. So now Luminosity has successfully done the stalemate. It's now even. The 11,000 gold lead that eUnited have is completely irrelevant. Luminosity did the do. Now they have to dance the dance. Can they walk it like they talk it and actually find the win here?
It's going to be tough because that left side Phoenix so critical. We talk about it all the time in these pro level games. Left side Phoenix is the most important one. because that's the farthest away from the Fire Giant. Now you've got to worry about, do we defend our Phoenix, our base, or do we try and contest fire? If I'm Luminosity, I don't think I'm coming anywhere near this Fire Giant. What's the point? Your defense has been so good on the last 2-3 sieges that eUnited is clearly struggling with it. Is Fire Giant really going to make that much of a difference for them? I really don't think so. I'd prefer to see Luminosity just sit under Phoenix and get ready for the next defense option.
I wouldn't mind if Weekend by himself went for this Fire Giant, but I think that Nemesis ultimate is impactful enough that you do want to keep it safe and secure. So if you send Weekend over here by himself, because I think the other 4 members are very important for the defense, sure. If the option is to push up the left side lane, sure. I think both choices are objectively fine for Luminosity. It's just how they want to fight it. Right now, it looks like they want to be a little bit more defensive than not. But more importantly, I love eUnited's approach to this. We see teams relinquish the Fire Giant more and more often in Season 5, and we still see teams 5 players strong look for the objective. eUnited here just stuck 3 players there and put 2 players in the mid lane just in case, because you don't need 5 players when nobody's coming through.
No, you really don't. And it allows you to push up those waves a little bit faster, invade red buff, that kind of stuff, to put yourself in a position where you don't need to waste time once that Fire Giant goes down. You can start pushing right away. Gotta say, Keegs sells his Ichabal, picks up a Deathbringer. Not a fan. The rest of the build is not oriented for crit. Odysseus bow is so strong on Hachiman because those Eagle Eye autos, you can start spreading that super far away and does really consistent damage in siege positions like this. If he's got Odysseus bow, this wave gets cleared more quickly. He doesn't need to use Heavenly Banner, and he's poking out the opposition all at once. Keegs is just trying to get lucky on a crit chance. Look at the mid-Phoenix. Screammmmm Benji just almost killed it by themselves.
Yeah, just Sobek able to take up some of the nonsense from the bird, and Scream shows up with those strong basic attacks. Luminosity not giving the proper attention to this mid lane. KikiSoCheeky showing up, and, well, Sobek and Scream just still pushing this down. The rest of the team fighting on the right side. Mid lane, Phoenix goes down. 3 players cut short by eUnited.
No, Nemean. He didn't even use the Thorns. PandaCat kills himself. Kiki still chasing down Venenu. Now uses the Thorns, but decides to back up there to head back towards PBM, and PBM's able to escape. But look at where Scream and Benji are going. Are they going to try and end?
Oh, don't be silly.
I think they can end here.
Really?
No, okay, no.
Benji
Clout
does
back.
have ultimate.
I didn't see that Clout was almost done with his back. I saw that Keegs was starting to back right there, and I thought maybe they could have gotten close enough. There's so much damage on that Achilles that I thought that they could have at least gave a run for it, but with Clout backing that quickly, definitely the right call to back it up.
Yeah, I think the Sobek ultimate would have it would have been tight. It would have been really tight. But I like that eUnited were thinking it. That's that's a fun play.
And now keegsmate sells the Deathbringer for the Odysseus bow. Someone almost certainly on his team pressed tab and was like, Keegs, what the hell is that?
That's exactly
Why
what
do you have
happened.
a like extremely weakened voice? Sell that.
That's exactly what happened. Next weekend video.
Haven't
My idiot mid laner build a Deathbringer.
Keegs, haven't you watched my YouTube videos? You know you can't build that here.
Weekend. Oh man, it's real talk. It's good to see Weekend be successful again. Obviously, Luminosity kind of out of land contention, though not technically. I think there are other teams in the conversation here. Luminosity has been a lot more successful than Weekend has been in recent memory, and having a guy that does as much with the community as he does. I like when those content creators coincide with being good at the game.
Absolutely, it brings more attention to the game. It brings more attention to the guys who are making that content, and with as much work as Weekend puts into creating content every week, that it's certainly well deserved. Whether you like him or hate him, I think it's indisputable that he does great work.
Luminosity getting real aggressive and spicy. Keegsmate, the Odimo paying off. Ping, 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 ping. Just back and forth. KikiSoCheeky also gets the kill off of the damage from the Hunter in the mid lane, which, by the way, is top on the player damage. 24,000 damage. That's 4,000 more than the pure aggression Scream.
So in a late game scenario, a 5-on-5, near an enemy Phoenix, engagement hasn't started yet. Artemis should never be your most forward character. I can say that with some confidence. PBM was in the jungle just not ready. And that's not on PBM. That's on PandaCat that he can't be there. You can't be there. You just got to wait, play it patient. Venenu gets baited by trying to save him, and it was just a bad positioning there. Safe to say that.
Scream watching the Gold Fury go down. Literally just watching. And yeah, I'm with you. Now, so eUnited definitely didn't expect to get jumped on there. They thought the same thing was going to happen that had happened this entire time. They would be able to walk up to the Phoenix, stand there, wait a while, wait for minions to come, and very casually engage. Luminosity, this was the element of surprise is so important. It's been written about since back to Sun Tzu. Luminosity said, yeah, you've done that the last 10 times. Well, guess what? Number 11, surprise, Mamma Jamma. Here we come. Blink on top of you, dash from the solar lander, and everybody gets beat up. That was Luminosity just really taking advantage of the fact that eUnited didn't expect that sort of aggression.
Do you really think someone on Luminosity said Mamma Jamma?
No, but that's my euphemism for when I want to say a different word.
Oh, okay.
Like
I was going to say,
milkshake.
I cannot see Clout saying Mamma Jamma.
Actually, Clout is the one I absolutely could see saying Mamma Jamma.
I was going to make you tell me which one that actually said Mamma Jamma, and I think Clout would be the only
It would be Clout.
potential option, but I still don't think he would say it.
You know what? No, I bet he would.
I mean, now he would, but like in a closed environment where it's just like, yo, Clout, when was the last time you said Mamma Jamma? It's probably been a while.
Nah, he's
Probably a little rusty.
He's going to tweet it tonight, I bet.
Dust off the old cod. Yeah, because we're talking about it.
Nah, it's in his vernacular.
I have my doubts.
Scream laughing here. There's Luminosity. Look at that oboe.
It's a good item. It's a pretty solid item. Phoenix is pretty low here. There's the blanket again from Weekend. Sprint used by eUnited.
Loving it.
There's the horse-mounted archery as well, but this time eUnited's able to back up enough, and now they might get a chance to re-engage, but good soul out stops it for the moment.
Really nice stuff from Luminosity. Now that time they don't get the kills that they've gotten in the past, but again I'm gonna bring spotlight to Geno. Saving that box for that late in the engagement was really nice, and actually almost turned that around. Phoenix respawns here, and it's dead as quickly as it shows up, and Benji feeds PandaCat, number 11, number 12, as Venenu finds that one with the in-hand. Continuing forward, eUnited, 5 players healthy, looking for the Titan. They're in the throne room, Ryan. 60% on the big boy. Weekend got a dash on back, 10%, but it's all good. Luminosity still staying the bleeding here, but 5%, 0%. That'll be game 1. eUnited on top.
Took eUnited a little bit longer than it probably they were expecting it to take. A couple sieges that they run into the brick wall of Luminosity, who played great defense in that game, but eUnited just got up to too big of a lead. Double Hunter in the late game plus a Fafnir. Eventually your defense is probably going to break, and that's kind of just what happens.
This is a really good example of why Luminosity is able to dance with the really high-end teams.
Yeah.
And this is just a spring split. As the year continues on, I expect to see a lot more from this squad. They get better, I think, every time they take the field.
They really do. And I think that we're not even close to seeing the ceiling for this Luminosity squad.
Yeah.
I would really not be surprised if this set goes all 3 games, because eUnited looked very clean there, but you could see that there are some opportunities for Luminosity to strike, and I wouldn't be surprised if they identify those and try and get it going in their favor in the next game. I just want to see Clout on a god that he could actually play aggressive. It's the Uller, it's the Hachiman that he's been killing the game with so far. In that game, the early pressure from eUnited, all in that duo lane. It was PandaCat who got off to a big lead. That opens up the Gold Fury for everybody. That's the area that I think Luminosity should look to change going into game 2.
Well, let us know who you think was the MVP for that game. Honestly, I think a lot of eyes go to Scream, lifting up the game in the early moments and just allowing the team to operate really with a lot of headroom, just really a lot of wiggle room to make those mistakes that Luminosity punished. If Scream doesn't find that lead early on, the punishments that LG give to eUnited might actually swing things in their favor.
Completely agree with you. He was the catalyst to start it all off, and again, it's all about that duo side pressure right now, and Scream did it beautifully.
Great game number 1. Really can't wait to see the continuation of this series. To break it down, it's John Finch and the Best Taco.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Ryan, for giving us game 1 where eUnited came out on top, but perhaps not as cleanly as they expected. Finch and Taco here. And Taco, I got to ask you, what was the big hang up there for eUnited being able to close that game out?
I think Aggro hit the nail on the head there. It's just that early game pressure really translating super well for eUnited into the mid and late game stages. Sure, they had some trouble closing it out, but I think that was mostly due to the fact that they were missing a mage. We were actually talking about it.
Sure.
Finch, that big burst damage is usually pretty necessary in some of those team fights, but eUnited were making the sacrifices that were necessary. They were taking out the structures, and sure, it might have cost them their hunter or 2 or 3 members wiping every single time, but it's just that slowly whittling away. Sometimes that's all you have to do when you're running these double hunter compositions. You just have to take out those phoenixes, and eventually the enemy teams usually tend to succumb to the pressure.
Well, Mixer Chat has spoken, Taco, and Screammmmm is going to be the MVP that you voted for there in the polls, and he looked excellent early on. You talked about it some, so did Aggro and Tom there in their own post-game recap that they had, but Screammmmm looked great, pressuring that duo lane for them early and helping to get PandaCat and PolarBearMike ahead.
Achilles is definitely the epitome of a feast or famine kind of jungler, and when you have this sort of a start, a 2-0 advantage over Weekend in the early game, sure, he might have prioritized the gank over some of that farm, but controlling duo so heavily is perfect when you have an Artemis in that lane. I was actually really surprised to see Luminosity not swap up keegsmate and Clout selection choices. I think that Soul would have done infinitely better in the mid lane against that Skadi, not having to deal with as many issues with the Calder as Hachiman tends to have a little bit of a more difficult time, doesn't really have a way to pierce through that ultimate. And then on top of that, Soul also just does a lot better, I think, against excuse me, not against the Artemis, but I think that the Hachiman would have done better against the Artemis because she doesn't have a way to avoid that mounted archery. You're already going to get a nice poke damage there, and it just felt like really Luminosity did not have the team control that they wanted to. If Kiki wasn't able to help set up a kill, then Luminosity really didn't have any further crowd control to try and help them sort of find those kills. They had to rely on everything off of the Phoenixes, and there's only so many times that eUnited are going to fail in that siege, or I should say surviving the siege.
Well, they